All right, fuckers, welcome back to practicing challenge 52, right? Athoro's, the artist Athoro's challenge that he put out. Link in description to the Discord. Um, yeah, that's it. Anyways, draw along. Fucking challenge 52. What else is there to say, right? Click on the Discord link. Go to the fucking PDF, whatever the hell, right? But we're on week one, which is just boxes, practicing boxes. I'm obviously doing a bit more advanced. No, I'm actually doing a lot more advanced than the first week because it's just supposed to be individual boxes. But as per my current skill level, I'm trying to cluster these boxes and make them have an interesting design, which is what silhouette, ratios of lengths, widths, girths, especially girth, right? And ensuring that it looks pleasing to the eye and feels pleasing to the taint. So with that being said, get your pen, get your pencil, or preferably pen, get your paper, and let's fucking draw along. Draw along, you piece of shit. Draw along. There you go. There's your call to action. Oh, and I have some shit to bitch about now because it's been a couple hours since I did this session, this one, right? Previous video, and perfect timing too. I went upstairs to take a piss, and then my dad called me. He's like, "Look at this relative's amazing drawings, right?" Yeah, she's actually pretty good. She's like good line work, clean detail. It's like God drawings, right? Like it's a big part of like Indian culture. We have a lot of and I think any culture, but we have a lot of like God paintings and drawings, right? So she is really interested in that. So her shit is like hyper detailed. Already, there's a lot of like my mind is very critical, so immediately I'm like, perspective is off, proportions are off, there's no sense of depth whatsoever. She doesn't understand space, like she just doesn't. It's all like front facing view, right? But like big caveat, her line work is great, her detailing and rendering is great, she's a great painter, right? So I'm like, yeah, she's very skilled. And my dad's like, yes, all God-given gift, right? By the way, while I'm talking, I'm already trying to problem solve and think in my mind, right? So I want to be very clear. That's a skill. Talking and drawing, everything's skill. So obviously he ended up fucking triggering me because he's like, it's a God-given gift, right? And I'm like, no, it isn't. It's a skill that she's practiced. He's like, what practice? Look, I'm like, bro, just because you don't see the thousands of times that she's drawn doesn't mean it's not there. And my dad does this thing where when obviously, and people do this as well, like when you kind of shit on what they said, I didn't shit on it, I just kind of said it objectively, which people can take as shitting on. He just got quiet, but he didn't refute. So that we're getting there. We're refuting. He didn't refute that against the whole. It's not a talent. It's a skill aspect, right? I'm like, it's interest. I told him, I'm like, it's an interest plus practice plus failure plus practice. And I'm like, if you wanted, you could do it too. He's like, I have an interest, but I'm scared of failure. I'm like, well, there's your answer. You're scared of failing, and that's what I want to tell everybody here who's listening at this point is the only thing crippling you, and that's consistently for me I work on to ensure that it doesn't permeate my subconscious, is the fear of failure and the expectations of being able to output that you're incapable of outputting, right? Why the fuck right now should I have been able to do anything apart from this? Because the effort that I put in was only able to output anything that was this, right? So same thing is like, it's literally just thousands of repetitions. How many times have you tried? Hundreds? Hopefully hundreds, if not thousands. How many times have you failed? Hopefully double the amount of times you've tried, right? I'm failing right now by trying to keep a clear, coherent conversation going and some sort of speech while also thinking about the design that I want to create, right? The box that I want to put it in. So let's see. Obviously, like I'm probably gonna have smaller shape designs here, right? Because I want to create some sort of interesting silhouette. Again, I trust me. I know I don't like the word interesting either, but purely for audio's sake, I'm gonna say interesting, right? So I've established my perspective already, and now it's just about trying to keep in mind what I'm creating while I create it, right? I'm trying to create something hinge based, right? I'm specifically trying to create something hinge based, like that. These are just boxes. I'm just using simple shapes, but I'm trying to make sure that it has the design of something that is based on a hinge, right? So and I'm gonna obviously like try to incorporate more diagonals, different shape, sizes and measures and all that shit, right? And it's really easy for me when I was going on my walk after I finished this drawing to look around and be like, yes, hinges. Here's an idea. Here's something I'm trying to think about. That's one thing, thinking about it. The other thing is thinking about it while you're staring at the fucking page, talking, while also trying to conceptualize the design and think about the perspective. Life, like in life, it's so easy to just think about things, right? But it's the doing that's difficult, but it's the doing that's worthwhile, right? So please do yourself a favor and get to work. I'm a funny guy. As a wise Jotaro once said, I'm also a reliable guy, right? Koichi-kun. But anyways, yeah, I have no idea where this is going. I'm trying to think right now. But yeah, join us on Challenge 52, Athoro's wonderful little um like practice that he's given, right? I have no idea in what fucking universe he expects people to be able to accomplish this in 52 weeks. But again, he does clearly state that each version that you go past, it should take you a specific amount of time. Right? Like he says, like hardcore should be like 4 to 6 fucking hours a day. Like you have to be very dedicated. So I respect that. He doesn't sugarcoat the work either. I want to be very clear, right? He doesn't sugarcoat that work at all. Again, I'm trying to think. Okay, so we can have a difference in length now, right? Girth can come afterwards, but again, trying to really focus on the line quality, right? This was initially supposed to be, see, I lost the perspective because this was actually supposed to be something that was rotated, this box in space, but now I've kind of ended up following that. So I'm trying to think if there's a way where I can fix this, but right now with the angle that I've created here, possibly not. But we can still work around it. So actually we can say this is the diagonal. So if this is the diagonal, I'm going to bring this all the way up. And while I'm trying to do this, I'm telling you right now, while I'm doing this, like I'm trying so hard to create some semblance of a design in my mind, right? And already that line is off, and it's very difficult. It's extremely difficult. But yeah, my dad just fucking, I was like, great, now I have something to bitch about to my fans, because he mentioned talent, and he not only did he say talent, he had the fucking audacity to call it God-given gift, right? Which is even worse. So I went on my like I don't even know how to soundbite that, but this is bad. See how thin this is versus how thick this is. So now I understand that. Like I'm actually starting to understand intuitively the ratios that make things look good or bad. So now I can maybe even to fix that, add another one. But that looks better. It looks better conceptually, but because I fucked up my lines trying to apply it, beautiful mistake, right? Beautiful mistake. So if that's, I'm still trying to think about what perspective this is all in, right? So we could do something like this. And hold up, let me just, okay, first let's start with this perspective, because obviously it's really hard for me to tell what I'm doing here. I'll be completely honest, like it's really hard for me to tell. Like I'm losing the perspective a lot. And I actually don't even know in relation where this is in the perspective. So after I create this line, I'm gonna have to realign my mind to understanding what I'm creating, right? So yeah, it's all repetitions. And another thing I actually wanted to mention is in the ArtWad Discord, in the suggestion box channel, right? Somebody, just like one of the people there was talking, they were giving feedback on how their plans seem to be blending, and it's unclear of the value proposition the premium has over the core, and also kind of requesting that perhaps some things that have been now locked to the premium stay in the core, and they find things, bless me, to transfer to the premium that makes sense, like additional value. But one thing, again, that this person said fucking pissed me off, because they were like, they basically said they love the roadmap and shit, but they explicitly stated, I don't have the same love for the grind nodes, because it's like, I get repetition's important, but drawing the same thing 10, 15 times over, it's just, it does not spark joy. So I specifically targeted that thing. I'm like, regarding that, here's a different perspective, and I basically said, fucking repetition is the most important thing you could want, like goddamn drawing, bro. Like, what do you mean? Like, repetition is literally the most important skill. It's literally the most important skill to focus on, right? Because that is where the learning happens, by the way. Like, that is where the learning happens. It's not in the fucking, it's like, that's the trenches, I guess you could call it, right? Like, that is the skill of learning, is by focusing on the repetitions, right? But you know, it doesn't matter what I say right now, because I'm just a nobody. And then 10 years from now, I'll be like, oh shit, he's actually somebody. Because his skills, they walk the walk because he talk the talk, right? See, this is also a mistake. I made this way too long. But again, I am trying to create some sort of design, something that's perhaps a bit more mechanicalistically correct, because that's a word, right? But yeah, I basically just said, like, bro, like, the fucking repetition, they're literally all you have, right? They're all we have. We should actually be grateful that ArtWad provides this much structure in their practice, right? And they actually have grind nodes, because I don't know any fucking other service that provides this much yeah, like just this much fucking emphasis and direction on what to practice. And again, my lines are really shit right now, which is good. Still trying to figure out the perspective of created here, because we have to think about the differences in what this is versus what the others are, right? This is clearly my diagonal. I did make a mistake here. This should have been a lot thinner, but now we have to think, okay, well, and this is just bad. But now I can maybe think like, okay, well, how can I make it good? Right, well, maybe I can have something like a thin box that's attached to this coming out. Oh, see, and now we've fucked up the perspective. So now I have to think about that, and my lines are also pretty subpar. Oh, see, I fucked that up too, because it's really hard to think about the different perspectives. Again, this is all extremely difficult. I will consistently reassure anybody who's listening that yes, this is difficult. Yes, it is really hard. Yes, you do have to think about the line while the perspective and zooming out and seeing the grid, while also being aware of where you're placing the line and applying it at the same time and ensuring that your hand is steady. And that's just line and perspective. Right? That's not even keeping a specific perspective in mind while ensuring that other diagonals are being calculated within that box, and also ensuring that they are proportionate to each other and that they're in relation, they have a relation that makes sense. That's not any of that either, right? So yes, it is difficult, and that's why you're capable of it, because it is difficult. Not in spite of the difficulty, because of the difficulty. That is why it's worthwhile, and that's why you and your practice is worthwhile, and that's why I'm consistently going to showcase while the practice I'm doing is worthwhile as well, right? Even, like, especially with all the mistakes. Sorry, see, I almost said even with all the mistakes. No, especially with all the mistakes, it is worthwhile, right? And yeah, that's the juby yabba dabba doo. I don't fucking know what I'm saying. So it seems like I'm converging a little bit, but I need to ensure that my boxes still make sense. There you go. See, like that's rotated. Okay, and okay, we'll just close this because I'm obviously trying to create a decent silhouette, but it's like I'm trying to create a decent silhouette but also add complexity, so it's obviously two things in my mind that are fighting with each other because it's unsure of what that even means and how I can ensure that that makes sense. But I'm really trying to keep the perspective in mind. This was a good practice, like trying to have two different, like an angle that is not in the same, and it's like super subtle, right? It's ended up becoming super subtle angle that's against it. But hold up, I actually made a mistake here, but just to keep it going, right? In that perspective, because this is a slight angle away from this, right? And we need to ensure that this little attachment that I've created here, and I'm constantly thinking about this to the best of my ability. So those are also the key words that I want you to internalize, is like to the best of my ability. Not to what I expect my ability to be, but to the best of my current ability, which as I learn and as I enjoy the mistakes, ends up becoming the ability that I expect. Over hundreds of hours. Not tomorrow, not next week, over hundreds and hundreds of hours. Okay? Hundreds and hundreds. Fucking stop thinking tomorrow, stop thinking next month, think 2 years from now. Because it doesn't matter whether it actually is next month. You are training long-term thinking. We're going to offset responsibility to the future so we can recalibrate our efforts to the present, okay? Because that's all that is that's all that matters is our efforts. You know, I made so many mistakes here, so many fucking mistakes were made, but I'm gonna rest my brain and you're gonna do the same. We are bullied. Yeah, and another thing that I'm thinking of, right? Yeah, like back to fucking drawing, I guess, but another thing to be very clear about is the fact that when I say repetition is all that matters, it's because I'm really frustrated with how beginners just keep having this subpar mindset, you know? Like, yes, you the beginner, right? You the beginner, has a subpar mindset. And of course, if you don't have a subpar mindset, cool. This is just going to reinforce what you already know, right? If you do have a subpar mindset, I'd hope you stick around because this is going to hopefully encourage you and inform you of the things that you don't know and you can start practicing, because the first thing you need to keep in mind is everything is a practicable skill. Everything. I don't give a shit what your opinion is on this. Everything is a practicable skill. From the way you speak to the way you think to the way you apply yourself. Everything is a fucking skill. And if you disagree, that will get you nowhere. You can disagree with me. I'm going to keep getting better at art. I'm going to keep proving what I'm saying is right in terms of like mindset, applicability, repetition, effort, and just enjoying the process, right? Of course, what I'm doing may be wrong, right? In terms of like, I may not be learning the best way at all, right? I may not be doing XYZ efficiently. That doesn't fucking matter. It really doesn't fucking matter right now. See, like I already made a mistake here with the perspective. Look at that. But it doesn't fucking matter because I'm trying, right? Like I'm trying. That's all that matters. But well, you know, that self-flagellating? No, not flagellating. I'm pretty sure flagellating means to fucking whip yourself. That what am I doing? I'm just fucking sucking my own dick. Anyways, but yeah, that self-sucking my own dick aside, like it doesn't matter. What the fuck was I saying? Jesus Christ, I had like a really good streak going and then I completely fucked it up. What I'm trying to say is, yo, what the fuck was I saying? Hold up. Watch me become incoherent, clearly. Oh, see, I fucked that up. God damn it, bro. I was gonna make a point, and it's all gone to shit. See, like, this is really bad. But... what does it not matter? I was trying to say something. What was I saying before? What was I saying before? Seriously, what the fuck was I saying before? I was talking about how the effort, no, the errors, no. Okay, I will find my train of thought. This is what happens when you're drawing and talking, by the way, clearly, right? Oh, see, that's a mistake because it's misaligned. There you go. Okay, so anyways, let's bring that out. That's like this, right? No, wait, bring that out. Like, so I'm just trying to think about what it's like on the other side, right? Because this is this thick, and then yeah, we follow it. There you go, we follow it, and then we have the center here. Oh, see, I fucked that up too. What is the advice that I wanted to give to beginners? There was something specific I had in mind, and then I completely lost it. Okay, fuck. I literally had a point that I was trying to make. Is that the bottom? Okay, that seems more to be the bottom. God damn it. This is why, Vicky. Why did you stop being coherent in the 1 second you needed to actually make a fucking point? Okay, so now we bring this up here. See, like, this is really difficult for me. Like, I also want to keep iterating how difficult this is for me, so you are aware that this is not easy. And why do I need you to be aware that this isn't easy? So your expectations are set. You have clear expectations, and again, affirmations. Oh, that's a mistake because it's too long now. I see it. You have clear affirmations as well that yes, it is supposed to be difficult. But what the fuck does it not matter? What was I trying to goddamn say? Oh, dude, this is way too far apart. Hold up. Okay, so I see a lot of perspective issues already that I did. This is good. This is actually really good. It's really showcasing a lot of my mistakes. Which is good, right? But this also is starting to look functional. Dude, that's so far apart. What the fuck? What did I fuck up? Well, this is already off perspective. That's a mistake. That's super far apart. That is like incredibly far apart. Right? That's really, really bad. But again, like, I'm not really upset that it's quote-unquote bad. Like, I could give less of a shit about that. It's just a good reminder to me that... Let's see, like, that my proportion and my spatial reasoning needs a lot of work. What the fuck was I saying? God damn it, this is gonna piss me off. It does not matter what. What profound thing was I gonna say that was going to change your life? No idea. This is why talking and drawing is a very difficult skill. Yeah, see, something is off there. Let me analyze this first. So I got this is here, and then if that length, that seems accurate, but then why is this seems, oh, because this is actually further, oh, okay, I see, this, the distance between this and this, like this object and where this starts, you see how I made it completely close? There you go. That's the issue. There you go, okay, we solved it, right? But that is good. I'm gonna keep this, I'm just gonna keep this as the shape, because I made a lot of mistakes, and that's beautiful. There you go. This actually looks like something relatively functional too. It actually looks like something that could be functional, albeit very flimsy, clearly, right? I'm gonna rest my brain. I'm gonna see if I fucking know what I was talking about, because I'm trying to make a point here, and I'm actually trying to encourage beginners by making this point. But yeah, completely lost on me because of this. I'm gonna try actually doing more things like this. We'll try using bigger shapes as well. These are a bit too thin and small. Not that it's not good because it's helping my line work, but I want more clarity. But I already think the different sizes that I've used have been pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie. I think that's actually not bad. But yeah, let me rest my brain. Okay. I cannot remember the point I was trying to make, but I still have a few things to say, right? Like, I actually don't know what point I was trying to make, but yeah, I still have a few things to say. So, let me, oh, and again, like, to clarify, like, I'm trying to think about line, perspective, and then, like, trying to design, right? Composition, what size of shapes, how should they be interjected, what's the logic, what's the function behind it? So that's also very difficult. I want to make it very clear, this is all very difficult, right? So, I don't know what point I was trying to make there anymore. If anybody in the future, whenever these videos get notoriety to any degree where comments are more commonplace, right? If somebody wants to kind of try to fill in the gap based on what you know about me, go ahead. It was probably some shit like put in the fucking effort, focus on what you can control, and enjoy the repetitions, right? Like that was probably something like that. But let me go back to addressing that person's comment, saying that the joy and like the repetition is not really good, or like it's not something they find to be enjoyable, right? Well, here's the extremely real and honest truth. It fucking takes repetition, dumbass, right? Not that I have anything against that person. I'm just being abrasive because I think it makes my point clear, right? But maybe it doesn't make anything clear. But okay, I want something maybe going this way. But I do want a bottom perspective too. Let's see. What's like an interesting silhouette? Well, maybe I want something here. Okay, hold up. I want to try something that's a bit more unique. Okay, so hold up. Let's do a perspective like this. Okay, so I'm starting to get an idea. And now this is the difficult part because I actually need to maintain this perspective, right? If that's the perspective I'm trying to think about. Okay, so I already fucked it up, but now we have to deal with the repercussions of fucking it up, right? And I like this. I like the tilting of these relatively cubic boxes, right? Or almost perfect square plane boxes, because it helps me to understand what I'm kind of going for. Like, and it helps me rotate things while keeping the perspective, like trying to keep the perspective as normal as possible. So I lost the perspective multiple times there, but this is still a good practice. And actually, you know what? We can do something like this. Okay, hold up. Yeah, we can do something where we get that perspective back, right? I'm just trying to think. I want to use bigger boxes, right? So let me readjust my brain, right? Readjust my brain, and let's try something like this. There you go. This should give me a lot of leeway in terms of the perspective, right? And this way I can focus on like the anglings I've created too, right? So let's see. Okay, so what I was trying to say is like, okay, regarding the perspective stuff, and by the way, while I'm talking, I'm literally thinking as hard as I can. But regarding the repetition stuff, is it's just a reality. And it's a good reality because this should inspire you. You just have to do the thing a lot to get better. You just have to do the thing a lot with intent to get better. You just have to do the thing a lot and try to understand and focus as much as you can to get better. You just have to do it at least 4 to 5 times a week to get better. None of this is like, it's not complex. It's simple, actually. Like, in theory, it's very simple. It's difficult because I'm assuming beginners, you guys have different expectations, right? Like, and this is the beginner I was for the first half a year of my learning. You expected yourself to be able to create something without having put in the work to create that thing. I haven't put in the work to create the things I want to create, right? Because this is not what I want to create. These are stepping stones. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm trying, which is why these mean a lot to me, but this is a horrendous mistake, right? So I will never ever, for the fucking love of Christ, his Lord, none of them, right? I will never ever, ever downplay how difficult this is. Fucking ever, okay? Like, it's just not happening. You're not gonna be hearing that from me ever. I will always remind you that this is very hard, and it requires a shit ton of effort, and that's why it's worthwhile. That's what I'm here for. Apart from showcasing that these things work, that my quote unquote but really Artwad's and just any good draftsman's methodologies work, right? Like, that's what I'm here for, really. Like, I'm just here to remind anybody that was willing to listen that there's nothing special about me, and there's nothing special about any of this. It just takes a fuck ton of work to get there. And I'm trying to spatially reason this as well right now, because again, I'm trying to think about the perspective that I've set. And let's see. Right? Let's see. Okay, how does that work? Maybe something like this. So if I bring it down and then I rotate it back, right? Bring it down, rotate it back. How does that look? I think it looks something like this. Right? Interesting. But yeah, like, and throw any word that is not accountable to your actions out the fucking window. Okay? And again, this is for people who actually want to embody the mindset required to get good, right? Not that I'm saying I'm good, but I'm on the process. I know for a fact I'll be fucking excellent. I know for a fact, right? And my progress is slowly but surely reflecting that sentiment and that practice, right? But throw it out the fucking window. Okay, throw any word that's not related to personal accountability out the fucking window, because it serves you nothing. It only serves you, feel good emotions like, oh, I am talented. Wow, okay, so like, turns out I'm just God, I'm good, and then you're gonna get your ass humbled to a fuck ton, when it's actually, no, you're not as good as you think you are, and you actually have hundreds of things left to learn. Like, look at this shit. What the fuck did I do here? What the fuck did I do here? Right? Because again, I'm trying to talk and think at the same time. I'm trying to explain and think at the same time. Extremely difficult skills. Extremely difficult skills. Right? Not talents, skills. Okay? So, and I'm trying to like break the perspective in many different ways. Or not break it, but I'm trying to change the perspective in many different ways while keeping it designed supposedly decently, as if I know what the fuck that means. Right? But this is the work it takes. This is the price tag. The price tag for excellence is effort and time. And both of those things are within your control. Absolutely both of those things are within your control. Right? What can I do here? Okay, you know what? I want to try something like this. First, we will, again, bring this back. Try to think proportionately. Trying being the operative word, which is all that matters, again, right? Trying to keep the proportion in mind. But I don't know what this is going to be yet. I'm still thinking. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what kind of contraption I want. And slowly but surely, I will figure it out, right? Slowly but surely. And don't call me Shirley. But I will figure it out, right? So let's do something like this. If this is the perspective, then I'll just have it lean down. Right? And that's actually incorrect. Like, that's literally incorrect. But because I have that, I'm going to go to the other side. Right? I'm going to do the same thing. right? And trying to keep these lines as accurate as possible to the best of my ability, right? That's already wrong. That's too long bars. But let's see. Yeah, because like I'm trying to create design connections, all that shit, whatever you want to call it. Just trying to figure it out. Maybe foreshortening is something I could try, but right now it's all I can do to just keep my lines decent. Decent, but still fucking garbage, right? But yeah, like one thing I really want to keep reminding those who listen, those who watch, whether it's now or in the future, is like it's just effort. And that quote unquote just effort is something you are capable of, right? Because if you weren't, nobody would accomplish anything. Think about that. If effort was not what mattered, if effort was something that people were not capable of, then it would not matter because we would genuinely live in a world, like genuinely, not even in terms of like the language that we use, but we would genuinely live in a world where your innate abilities were all that mattered, but we don't live in that world. Because if we did, then no matter how hard anybody tried, they actually would not be able to get better. But we have millions and millions and millions of examples of that just simply not being the case, right? Like people are able to consistently get better because people are putting in the work to consistently get better. See, I fucked up here, and this doesn't really make any sense because I was trying to think about angling them differently. But either way, I have to commit now. Right? I have to commit now, and oh, it's been fucking half an hour, Jesus Christ. And that's just the way it is. Things will never be the same, right? And let's see if that's connected there, that's connected there. So let's just something like that. Bring this. Maybe we'll make this longer, right? Now that we've like created a lot of small shapes, right? Big, medium, small, all that shit. We need more big shapes, right? Because this is like the small stuff. And this is a huge failure, by the way, like a failure in attempting to understand, a failure in application, a failure in lines, a failure in everything. And that's the best part. It's the fact that it's a failure, right? Because I'm learning a lot from doing this. I'm learning a lot in terms of like how I can connect, how I can think ahead, how I can make things like spaced out, right? In terms of like especially thinking ahead, right? Like keeping the perspective in mind. There's a lot of things I'm learning just through this. Even here, let's see, something is off here, right? This doesn't seem like it's accurate, but let's see, how big do I want to make this? Well, I did want a connection here. So let's see, something like, okay, no, we'll do something like this. Because this is like the original perspective, which I'm, I guess, trying to manipulate or bend, right? Do something like that. On the other side, we obviously need something like that here as well. Right, and it's just constantly trying. I don't know what else to say. I actually don't know what else to say apart from it's just constantly trying, right? And like figuring it out. And it's difficult. It's extreme. Like, what am I doing right now? I'm trying to keep this perspective in mind, right? Like this bottom perspective in mind. I'm trying to keep that in mind while also having other things that are essentially being calculated against that perspective, right? They're going against it, but ensuring that they're still on that same axis, right? Trying to make sure that things have some sort of function or connection, right? Which has obviously failed a lot compared to this, but also trying to make sure that the shapes themselves are designed in a way that's pleasing to the eye in a specific ratio, spacing, length, and girth, width, right? Like there's a lot of things to think about. And that's not even discounting the fact that I'm speaking while doing this. I'm fucking talking way too much while doing this, right? So that is also a very difficult skill. And don't forget lines. Like I'm really trying to focus on my lines as well. Like really trying to focus on my lines as well. But, and again, trying to instill some sort of logic. Like, and I keep losing the perspective. I want to be very clear. And I keep losing the fucking perspective. Right? And every line I'd make is a reflection of my design skills, my abilities, everything, right? Like, am I making the right choice? I don't know. I'm gonna be figuring that out as I make these choices, which is the scary part, right? That's the quote-unquote scary part, is like making these choices without realizing if these choices make sense. You know what I mean? Like this, I think already I've fucked it up quite a bit. Yeah, see, I already fucked up the perspective for this quite a bit, but I don't even know what to do with this anymore because I actually completely fucked up the perspective for this. And that's also because I was just talking while I was doing it, right? Like, the only way to kind of work my way around this is be like, oh, look, no, is... See, oh, and also, look how badly I fucked up the lines, right? To do something like that, maybe. And then if I were to do it on the other end, even though... Like, it doesn't make much sense anymore. The perspective is actually going to be quite broken now. But we can't do anything about that because I didn't think, because drawing is a fucking thinking skill, right? Everybody understand that now? Drawing is a thinking skill, right? Drawing is a fucking thinking skill. Do we understand that, you know? Again, motor skills are a big part of it, yes, but it's primarily a skill where you use your mind, right? And I'm making insane amount of mistakes. And that's why it feels good. I'm nutting, actually, in case you weren't aware. I've been leaking pre-cum for the past 40 minutes, but Kim Jong-un never told you all, but that was actually his secret. He was constantly horny for learning. Yeah, see, that looks ass. That looks really jumbled and messy. Really jumbled and messy, because my lines are also really bad, and I didn't think about the ratios well, but I'm learning so much from this, is how I need to... Like, I definitely can focus a lot more, like, not just in terms of connections, but the line quality, the symmetry, right, the functionality. And that doesn't mean that the next repetition I do somewhere here is going to suddenly be a 10x improvement. If anything, I'll probably make the same amount of mistakes, but slightly more improved, with like slight better understanding. You know what I mean? Like, that's learning. Learning is not... It's not like you'll just understand it because I've now spoken it into existence, or I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. Okay, it's more like, that makes sense. Now I just gotta also do the same thing, which is use a fuck ton of brain energy to do this thing that I've already been struggling a lot with, right? So to do this thing I've already been struggling a lot with and I've been using a fuck ton of brain energy on, I gotta do it again, but now I gotta try to keep in mind that thing I learned and try to change my behavior from that thing I learned, and while also fucking up the perspective, as you can see, multiple times, right? That is learning. At least that's my learning, and if it resonates with you, well, good, because that actually is what learning is. You know, I'm trying to be like the nice person a little bit, be like, oh yeah, like everybody learns differently. Like, no, dumbass, everybody learns the same. Like, the biological processes involved in learning it does not differ from you to me. Otherwise, our race would have been doomed because nobody would be learning the same way. We'd all be fucking trying to come up with a system that made sense rather than just our body being like, oh yes, gap effects, we learn like that. Yes, more sleep, yes, we learn like that. Oh yes, fucking extreme attention, yes, we learn like that, of course, right? Yeah, anyways. Yeah, we all learn the same way biologically and physiologically, but how we interpret it, right? How we interpret it, yeah, that's individual. How we make sense of it, that's individual. But the same mechanisms that allow me to quote unquote improve as fast as I have are the same mechanisms that will allow you to do the same. It's just a fact. And if facts insult you, like, subscribe, and get the fuck off my channel. Watch every video. Right? I'm probably the most confusing motivation. Right? On one hand, he really wants me to succeed. On the other hand, he keeps berating me. Sign me up! Making a lot of perspective mistakes, and I'm really trying to keep it in mind, but this is so jumbled now. This is actually, you see, like, if this is horrible. This is just objectively, there's just no clarity, and actually a lot of my shapes are too samey. You see how this is nice, and like there's different sizes here? One step forward, 2 steps back, and then slowly again, 1 step forward, 2 steps, and then technically I'm always going backwards. I'm fucked. Actually, if I'm always going 2 steps back. But what did I do here? Let's see, we'll just finish that off, bring it down here, have something come out here, right? Bring that down, all the way here, right? And let's do something like, oh, well, actually, we don't really see that, do we? I don't think we see that at all, but we do see this. Oh, yeah, we do see this. Okay, see, like, it's just not good. It's just objectively not good. It's so cluttered, inconsistent, right? So I can honestly just leave this as it is. So for anybody who thinks, for some reason, has the opinion that, hey, my perspective skills are good, let it be known when it comes to suddenly trying to add design, to that, trying to add function to that, trying to add anything like I just did right now. And I was genuinely thinking, but I was struggling a lot, which is good. It turns into garbage like this, right? And it's like this all over again, completely incoherent, right? But okay, it's been 40 minutes. I'm gonna rest my brain, and then I'm gonna really spend the next 20 minutes fucking really, really trying to think about something that is decent, right? Because this was okay, and now this, like mistakes and all, was subpar beyond measure. So, and I'll be honest, like I actually was not thinking as much as I could have. I really wasn't thinking about function about this from the beginning. Like this was a much more giant question mark than this was, and it's clear. Like you can see the question mark that this is, right? Like even though I was trying to put an effort into understanding, me talking was actually taking over my ability to focus. So that's a skill where I need to focus equally as much no matter what I'm talking about or what conversation I'm coming up with. But these reps are not wasted because I can still learn from this, right? No rep is wasted as long as we do make an attempt to at least try to learn from it. And as you may have noted now with the fucking 300 and almost 70 videos out on my channel, right? I think this is like officially my main practice. This is the 300th video, 302nd video, I think, or third now, right? This video specifically, this practice. So as you can see, it's all very, very, very incremental, but you look back 2 years later, you're like, holy fuck, what a difference. And that's the point, you gotta think long term. Anyways, let's rest our brains. Yeah, and by the way, this is, as you have noted, is all being done with boxes. This is literally just boxes, right? This isn't anything else. This is all boxes. So, once again, the fundamentals are not boring. We are boring, right? Okay, so I already tried. I want to try a more difficult perspective. So something like this. And what do I want the shape? Okay, I want the shape to have, yeah, I want that. This is what I want my silhouette to be. Like a flag, like a backwards flag, maybe. So that being said, my box is that, right? This is the box I'm going to be thinking of. It's actually similar, very similar to this. It's going to be something like this. Right? Some might say this is a top view, but I'm personally viewing it as the bottom view, right? I know, like, you could think about it this way, you can think about it this way, right? That changes a lot of things, but I'm thinking about it from this plane right here, right? So that's going to obviously shift the way that this design is grounded and like where bases seem to exist and where they don't seem to exist. Exist, right? But let's see. Because this perspective I already struggled a lot with, so maybe this time I should most definitely establish the perspective a little bit better. Right? Let's see. Okay, so that's already like something I'm doing. Not that I know what I am doing, right? I want to be very clear. Like I always struggle with knowing what I'm doing, right? There you go, and then maybe something like this, right? Which in turn, again, what is the perspective again? Okay, it's that. See, I lost the perspective immediately. I've lost the perspective. So that's why it's important to think. Oh, and actually, like, the shape has also completely changed. Maybe I'll still be able to retain it, but for the time being, what I was originally thinking about the silhouette has changed to something else. And that's fine. That's part of it, right? And I'm not, like, maybe I'm saying this as a cope. It's very possible I'm saying this as a cope, right? Oh yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's part of it. Just because I don't want to fucking take the responsibility of the fact that I didn't actually think about it properly. Very, very well could be that. But while I am coping, I might as well just still try to figure things out, right? Okay, so that's the perspective, and then that's the way I'm angling things, right? So this is a diagonal for sure, and these subtle diagonals are actually the most fucky ones, and they're the best ones too. You see, I already fucked up the alignment, so I have to adjust this, right? Very difficult, very, very, very difficult. And with that, I can also maybe do something like this, right? Where this is the middle. Maybe I'll actually have to go to the back of the page. I am trying to take my time. I'm trying to find that balance of taking my time but still designing, if that makes sense. and seeing the perspective, which is very difficult, right? Incredibly difficult. But also trying to find that balance of big, medium, small that I keep fucking harping on about. LARPing is completely different. I'm LARPing as an educator right now, clearly, right? But yeah, it's all just trying to figure it out, to be honest. It's literally all just, oh, that was a mistake. That was not a mistake. That's good. Okay. Let's see. Let's see, what perspective was I thinking about with this? Right? What perspective was I thinking about? The top? Was that the top? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, well, actually, because it's actually, we're converging it a little bit now. I didn't even mean to do that, but we are converging it a little bit. Right? I'm still trying to figure out what I'm trying to do here. Yeah, like that's exactly what I'm doing. With full honesty, I guess, on my end, right? Is just trying to figure out what I'm doing, because it's very difficult. Like, my brain's actually hurting a lot right now. Like, I'm trying to think about connections, and basically, if anything, we're trying to create interesting hinges right now, technically, right? Like, I'm trying to create a hinge that possibly makes sense. Now, also taking into account the design of what I've already made. I'm trying to make sure that the design of what I've already made has its variances, right? Like, is notable to some degree. And it's all a bunch of what ifs I did this, what if I did that, right? Like, how can I make this seem decent or interesting or whatever the fuck, right? The word interesting, obviously, I harbor a very deep grudge to that word, but again, my head's literally tilting while I'm doing this, so I need to untilt my head. It's like fucking this, because it's so easy to get lost in the lines and the overall perspective. But this is kind of looking interesting, right? Just purely from that word itself, I guess. But we can now do something like this, maybe. You know, try to make it like a thin box. Usually this would be a manipulated box, right? Where I'd bring it out, make it come in, bring it like that. But now, because I'm absolutely forced to only use boxes, I even got to think about the way they're applied in terms of their connection, right? Which actually creates, oh, see, but I made a mistake because I didn't think about it over here. But maybe because I made this angle, it's actually possible to kind of just go over it without fucking it up too much. Kind of worked, right? And now it's up to me to decide what shape I want to go through here, right? Let's see. So if we have something like this, right, still that's kind of rotating along this perspective, right? That's already off perspective, by the way. Like, actually, you can tell I fucked it up in terms of the perspective, this right here. But if that's the case, if that's what I'm doing, first of all, let's make this much longer, because personally, now through my practice, I have a feeling that this will be this ratio, this being small, this being large, and this being a bit longer but wider. My intuition through practice and observation is telling me that this is actually a good ratio that brings interest to the eye. And whether I'm correct or not, I am following through, because all I can do is follow through. Right, so that's what I'm thinking about, by the way. Like, I want to be very clear. I'm thinking about the box, I'm thinking about the overall perspective, and now I'm, like, because simple shapes, I'm trying to think about how they're connecting, right? I'm trying to think about how they're connecting. Even here, maybe there's a connection here which requires my lines to be very, very good, right? And again, I think I made a mistake here again with, like, the lines. Well, first of all, this is already off perspective. These aren't in the same perspective, or aligned properly, not off perspective, but right? Kind of interesting. Unique, I guess you could call it. Right? And let's see, we can have it end here. Well, it's a box, so it has to end there. Right, but before I end it, I need to think about the connections. Well, let's close this off. And because I've already created this, let's just bring this over here, right? Same box continuing through. I want that continuity. Same thing here. But see, this is the mistake I made right now. You see how this is actually further away? If we take from this line to this line, it's further, but here it isn't, right? Because I forgot to move it over. So now that's a mistake. And that's a beautiful mistake. We could obviously chalk it up to foreshortening or whatever, but it's not. It's not foreshortening. It's a genuine mistake on my end that I did not account for. And that's good, because I feel good from doing that now. My lines are slowly getting better, right? Slowly but surely getting better. That doesn't look too bad. There's of course many mistakes, but what I'm always trying to say is like the mistakes are the learning journey, you know. And your fear of failure is truly the only thing holding you back, to be honest, right? So let me see, what can I do here? What can be angled here to kind of look interesting? Because we still have our main perspective, but clearly I feel as if at this point this is like this looks really awkward, what I've done here. Like I just took that in. I didn't even connect these two properly. So maybe what has to be done is something like this, right? There you go. At least it's like, maybe I can connect it at the bottom. It's obviously super hyper fucking wrong and foreshortened, but let's see, something like that. Like really wrong, but it's okay, because that's fine. You know, like when I say, oh, it's wrong or this sucks or whatever, like I have trained my language to not be indicative of any actual personal sentiments towards that occurrence, if that makes sense. Like I don't give a shit that it's wrong, but I'll be like, oh god, this sucks, or oh, this is ass, or oh no, I did this. But again, I've trained myself to respond positively to these occurrences, right? Which is all that matters, like how we respond. And yeah, like there's a lot of mistakes here, like a fuck ton of mistakes, right? Hyper foreshortening, fuck it, we'll just, you know, huge mistakes here. But, and I hope you can tell, like, damn, this is taking a lot of time. He did this, this, and this, and we're already at 52 minutes, right? Yeah, 52 minutes. Yeah, oh no, would you look at that? Learning takes fucking time, moron, right? But it's the intent. And you see, I've learned from this. I've already learned from this and be like, okay, same perspective, right? Very similar perspective, but I'm like, okay, actually establish the perspective first. You know, if I'm not going to establish the perspective first, then I have to keep it in mind. But right now it would be more convenient. Well, I'm just going to say it. It'll be easier, right? I'm still shying away from difficulty. So honestly, the next time I should just establish the perspective, but I need to practice drawing outside of that. I did that here a little bit, but I need to practice drawing outside of that perspective, like I do with the helmets, you know. So I know this is my rest week, and I know I'm supposed to be kind of chilling and keeping my mind not as busy, but that's my, I guess that's my, for better or for worse, I have trained myself to crave and chase after doing difficult things, right? Even on a fucking week where I'm just supposed to be resting my brain. But that is not the Vagu way, right? So there you go. And how are we gonna connect this? Well, we could just do a small one like so, right? And again, this doesn't really sort of encourage or inform functionality, I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't think this is the most functional thing I've ever drawn. I don't think it looks that functional at all, right? But the intent is some relative functionality. And before I fuck this thing up, we need to align it, right? And then there you go, something like that. It doesn't look too bad. The silhouette is actually pretty decent, considering it's just boxes. Obviously, biggest issue is like this being misaligned, right? You can see huge perspective change. So the diagonal I did not do properly, but that's not bad. Okay, it's been 53 minutes. Obviously, we still have some time left before this quote-unquote episode is over. So a nice challenge is like to draw smaller things, right? So I might shy away from, not shy away, but I might alternate. I think that's the best thing, like to alternate between bigger pieces and smaller pieces. Because if I can make something small look interesting, right, like these, not this, but like this and this look a bit more interesting, then definitely I can improve my ability to create more larger complex scenes. But I think the way to go about it is to like have these be this foundation, these small, interesting silhouetted designs be the staple of what I practice and what helps me create something interesting in terms of using simple shapes and like a smaller compact space to design the thing, right? Which in turn, when I create something larger, I can perhaps start internalizing it as smaller combinations, or as combinations of these smaller shapes, right? It's all shapes at the end of the day. So how we internalize that logic is also up to us. And to test that flexibility of that logic through hundreds of repetitions, right? So it's all just, what the fuck do I do to get better? Okay, I know like this, I can't do this. And then it's like, within that, it's just, now here is me spending the next 20, 30 years of my life just trying to figure it out. With the knowledge that I gain as I figure it out, and the confidence that I gain through the evidence I built of that knowledge, which is the application, the practice, right? And that is what allows us to continue to try. So if you did 10 lines today or 10 shapes today, right, they are evidence that you can do 10 more lines and 10 more shapes and strive to make them better, right? And then moving on, like the types of shapes that you draw, the manipulations that you do. But I say 10 because I'm like, oh, I'm trying to be cute and nice. No, let's just say if you did 100, right? And that doesn't mean in one session. We talk about cumulative volume, right? Cumulatively, if you put, and you do not measure volume by the half-assed repetitions that you did. Like, technically, this doesn't really count because it was a bit half-assed. Like, I did try, so it counts because I know I tried, but parts of it don't count because I know that I was distracted a little bit when I was doing it and I didn't have intent. But part of it, again, does count because I was still attempting to try, right? I was still trying to make it coherent, right? So these are all learning lessons, and that's the main takeaway. But I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say anymore. Anyways, just I'm gonna rest my brain. I encourage you to do so as well. It's all the same shit, just rehashed. But yeah, I already know I made a fuck ton of mistakes here as well. Like, look, like this, if you go all the way back, is not aligned, right? It's supposed to be much bigger, right? There's a lot of misalignments, and that's difficult. Even year to year is like slightly off, right? So you also have to have the ability to kind of, to the best of your ability, to go back and analyze what works. So now I'm gonna do a small shape, right? It's 57 minutes in, so we have like 5-10 minutes, or I do, because I kind of want to go practice piano. I want to shower and practice some piano. Didn't get to for the past 2 days because I was at an event for my girlfriend's culture, which was really cool. But let's do something like this, right? This is a very subtle perspective, and I'm starting this off with zero idea of how I'm going to continue it, by the way, because I just thought of this. I literally just thought of these two shapes. That's the only first thing I've thought of, right? And already I've made them further apart than I initially thought of them, because while I made this one, I'm like, you know what? It'd probably be better if I made them a bit further apart. And now my mind immediately has like, oh, what if I have an attachment right here, right? And this just comes from all the practice I've done here of like, okay, this is the thought pattern that I've now trained myself to have, is like, okay, what's the next shape? That's my thought pattern now, right? What's the next shape? And then the logic behind that thought pattern is like, okay, what is the purpose of the next shape? That is something I'm still working on, right? Like understanding purpose of the shape. Right now, clearly, I've at least gotten down, I've trained the thought pattern of what is the next shape, right? Which is good. That's a huge improvement, right? And then again, like, what is the next shape? Well, and what's the purpose? Well, we could have this be a hinge, like a block that signifies a hinge, right? And it is this large because we want to insinuate structure, right? We want to insinuate structure. So same thing on the other side. And before I do anything, clearly I've already made this a lot further out than I intended, right? Because I didn't see the perspective properly. In my mind, I saw it was going like this. Even though I knew that wasn't right, I still saw it going like that. What does that tell you? I still struggle with seeing perspective all the fucking time. All the fucking time I struggle with seeing perspective, okay? It's just about the amount of times you attempt to see perspective that matters, right? Same with this. This is now, look at this. This box is misaligned with that box, but I'm just gonna have to extend this so it's centered. Fuck that line up completely, right? Bring it up here, and then, see, that's also a fuck up, right? This is not even like centered properly, but still trying to see that. Okay, so now we have it on this side. Now we have to think, like, how far away is this? Well, this is this far away, but is that actually what's happening, or is it like, or is it, yeah, it is what's happening, because that's not what I intended, but that's what ended up happening. Or is it something like where I can have something back here? right? Where it's actually, there you go, hold up. And this is all a what if, right? This is literally a what if. I want to be very clear. So let's see, something like, bring this down, there you go. And these are also attached to this larger shape that I've now introduced behind it, right? And perspective is definitely off, but I'm going to keep trying to hold that perspective, right? Same thing here. Again, now I know like these two are misaligned. This is much longer, right? Lines are subpar. This is 1 and then 2 and then 1 and then, okay, so this is roughly the length, right? Let's try to bring it back. It's really hard to draw a line underneath a shape because you have to ensure that it makes sense, right? And then maybe I can draw a shape here, which is already off perspective in terms of that line. That line was also off perspective, right? If this is how far away it is here, it should be equally far away. So let me just stop it here. So I am trying to center it, right? All mistakes, all extremely, and the thing is like you have to define them as really bad mistakes as well. So A, you can feel even better by attaching dopamine, or keep yourself accountable, right? And this one, I think I'm not gonna make it even actually, because I've been focused a lot on evenness, but I think with this, we're just going to not make it even and see where this takes us right here. See, like, what does this silhouette end up becoming, right? I actually meant to add something here, like so. So obviously this is a mistake, but I'm gonna draw over it. And we're going to, see, that's too fucking big on the back. And then that's also, and my head is like tilting now to try to account for this perspective. And again, what is this shape, right? Let's, again, follow the perspective here. Follow the perspective here. And this doesn't look attached to this for some reason. Why is that? Right, now we have to think, why is that? Well, maybe I can add another tinier shape here that is insinuating an attachment. By tinier shape, just another box underneath. And I don't think that works either, right? But that's just how it goes. And now, obviously, look, I can even do like a diagonal. So I want a diagonal shape, right? So this is the perspective. I need to think about how the box is going to be essentially following like this. Let's say this is the line of the box I'm thinking, right? Just a normal box. We have to think, okay, how is this following this perspective? So it's following like back like this. So that means it's a box that would be in this perspective. Like that's the line, right? And then same thing is like, okay, well, I moved it that far back. What about this line? Well, that's going for, okay, see, that's the logic I'm struggling to understand. Oh, it'd be something like this, right? Yeah, something like that. And let's see. We'll have 2 of these. But we'll just, and this one's over here, so we'll bring this one up, bring it about. We don't even see it on the other side, so maybe I should just draw a fucking, and again, like it's turned, we should just draw a little box. I'm really liking the little hinge designs that I'm doing, or at least I'm attempting to do, right? Something like that. There you go. But that still doesn't look like a good silhouette. Why is that? Because I need a large shape. These are all medium shapes and small shapes. Roughly, I'm starting to understand that now, that there's nothing holding it together. So now I have to think, well, what's going to hold it together? Is it going to be something like this? Right? You know, is it going to be something like this? And if so, does this even make sense? Right? Now, what ratio makes this look relatively interesting? That's the other question. Well, it's like, okay, well, let me at least, maybe I can add something like that. That in turn, that's slightly outward. It's like, okay, here's like a small shape to attach to this large shape. And now it's like, okay, what's the height of this large shape to ensure that maybe it's something like this, right? Maybe there's an even amount of balance. And even though I don't understand negative space, maybe this makes negative space look interesting, right? Something like that. I don't think it looks that good, to be honest. I feel as if something else could have been done, but it is a silhouette of all time. Or it is one of the games, you know, like the whole meme, like this is a blank of blank, right? Lines are pretty subpar, but you know what? This is great because I'm going to come back in a few hours from now, depending. I want to do at least 1 more hour of drawing today, but this is good. Like I'm actually starting to understand a little bit for sure. Don't have to burp a fuck ton, but for sure. And yeah, we'll do like we'll do shapes of this size, and I think I'm gonna really focus on functionality. This one had very little functionality clearly because I changed it multiple times, but even though I didn't understand functionality, I think it's at least like this is my worst design thus far, apart from this, and like even this has a little bit more interesting, I guess, kind of a design to it. Yeah, I could even add a little small box like that, right? And then we can just, if that's the way it's going. There you go. Now we have like a double hinge. And it's like, oh, where's that coming from, right? Nobody knows, but already it kind of looks better. Even like, what could I add here to make it look like it's kind of intentional? Well, I could add something like this, right? Right? Something like this. And then we could just bring that a little bit outward. Yeah, maybe, and there's a huge maybe, like what if it's not that big? Something like that, right? And again, lines are super fucking shit, but okay, I don't think that made much of a difference. It probably, and because it's like impeding on this, infringing on this poor little thingamajiggies right here, copyright. This actually kind of looks like buildings now. I just took that in. This looks like buildings. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, but lines do need to be better, of course, right? And I'm seeing the perspective decently, which is pretty good. But connections do need to be better as well. Like if we connect, see, I'm getting a lot of ideas now because obviously I'm just kind of the quote unquote letting your brain flow, like that type of stuff, right? It's important. It's very important. Right, see? So that's connected now. So this already looks like there's a lot more going on. And even here, if I just did something like this and then brought it up, right? Cut it through. There you go. Now that looks connected too. Sorry, yeah, there you go. Looks so much better because now we're able to logic out the connections that are occurring, right? Maybe this has something underneath it as well because that was bothering me a little bit. And maybe that's connected a little bit. That doesn't really make that much sense. It's okay. It's fine. But overall, this already looks a lot more functional because I'm adding these little things. And this is just with boxes, which is the amazing part. And that's the part that needs to be paid attention to, is like, this can be done with just boxes, right? Like just boxes. You can add these little things. There you go. Already makes it look so much more functional, right? Even here, if I just, and I've seen this a lot in real life, right? Where we have almost reinforcing connections like so, right? Yeah, see? It's like, okay, now things are really connected. But either way, that was good. That was a good session. I'm starting to understand a lot more. This was great. I'm so glad I took a break from my regular design stuff with the helmets, and I'm like, okay, go back to the basics, do a Thoros challenge 52, do the boxes, and just focus on designing interesting things with boxes. Interesting being a fucking piss off of a word, but when we just try to observe the world around us, for me, looking at mech designs, hard surface stuff, machinery, like I have boards on my Pinterest, right? And then really trying to take in just even as consciously as I can, but the intent is try to understand different ratios or just pay attention to them as consciously as I can, functionality. And then over the last 4 months, clearly, 5 months, clearly, it's just slowly starting to understand it better and better. But yeah, and that's how learning works. It is not a daily thing. The activity is daily, but the actual osmosis of information and application of that information is via hundreds and thousands of repetitions, hundreds and thousands of mistakes. It is fucking difficult, and you can do it because you're putting in effort. All right? I will never ever undermine the effort it takes. So if you tried as much as you could, given the confines of what you were doing today and what you were trying, whether, like I, made many mistakes and realized that, oh, I could have done that better, that's what matters, right? So good on you. If nothing else, if nobody in your life seems to give a shit about your art, I will say good on you for fucking trying, okay? Because look at this. 3 years and 3 months, by the way. Almost 4 months now, goddamn. But yeah, 3 years and 3 months. This is very, very approachable. And I only draw for 5 to 7 hours a week. I had about there was like a 6 to 8 month period where it was like 7 to 8 hours, but now like the average is roughly 6 to 7 hours, I guess. 6 hours a week, 7 hours a week, right? But it's possible. You can do it. And with that, Viggy inspiration, like, subscribe. Aside, I'm a man. As always, fuck you for watching. Keep drawing, and please give me money.